Welcome to Strip Cover, where we squeeze the bigger picture out of literature. I'm Adrian Fort.
And I'm Dalton Gentry. And this is Adrian Reads Harry Potter.
It sure is.
It sure is. Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows, chapters 5 and 6.
Yeah.
Feeling good about this week?
No.
Yeah, me either this time. I swear, I used to love this book. This used to be one of my favorites, but as you've seeped into my mind for 6 years of Harry Potter, I'm more and more disappointed every chapter we go with this. It pisses me off.
Well, and every time we read it and you're near me, the scar on your forehead glows.
Do I have a scar on my forehead? I feel like I'm going to start, developing one. They're stress lines, but it's just going to be in the shape of a bolt. Anyway, let's do a bit of a chapter breakdown here. We have Chapter 5, The Fallen Warrior, the good chapter. Harry and Hagrid are rescued by Tonks's parents and get transported to the Weasley's house. We find out that George, one of the twins, has lost an ear, and old Mad Eye's done. Mad Eye is dead. Shot down in glorious combat.
Yeah.
And Harry has a vision of Voldemort, and Voldemort is torturing Mr. Ollivander, the man who owns the wand shop that we met years and years and years ago.
Yeah.
So we're going to get into that a little bit. And then Chapter 6, The Ghoul in the Pajamas, where nothing fucking happens. Just a lot of sitting around and talking. Everybody's mourning Mad Eye's loss. There's no problem there. The kids are plotting to find some Horcruxes.
And no one goes anywhere.
And we're planning a wedding. But nothing happens and no one goes anywhere.
Well, we have Attack of the Supermother in that.
Mrs. Weasley steps up a little bit in that
Yeah.
one there and gets a little almost invasive, if you would.
Well, trying to keep the kids separated because she's got superpowers of knowing what they're plotting and where they're plotting it and when they're going to, and has the ability to separate them. Yeah.
Yeah. So let's talk about Chapter 5. How you feeling about that there? Let's start there. Obviously, we've lost Mad Eye Moody. He is dead now, so we've lost another one. Death count number 2, I believe, for this book. And George loses an ear, and we get some cheeky bullshit between Fred and George. But whatever, that sucks.
Yeah, I was right. They knew he was either going to be with Mad Eye or with Big Dumb Guy.
Mm-hmm. Well, put him with the best.
They attacked one of... Yeah, exactly. So that's why you make everyone Mad Eye Moody before you ever take off.
Okay. Back to the combat strategy.
Yeah.
But no, Mad Eye is done. Mad Eye was shot down, and he is no more. So one of the greatest combat wizards of the day is dead. The good general is dead.
Yeah. Just wasted, though.
Wasted, very much. Because it's very subtle. They're like, oh, looks like he got shot down. He didn't make it. That could have been a great moment there when, the great general could have gave himself for, the cause.
We could have seen it.
He did give himself for the cause, but you're right, we didn't see it. But what comes from that is nothing. We get a brief period of mourning, and we're obviously just going to move right on.
Right.
It was all for naught, and I think it could have been a good scene. Because we've never actually seen Mad Eye in action. We've just heard the legend of the man, but we've never seen the man.
Right.
And again, we don't see the man in his death. So, a little disappointed with that, but whatever. Let's talk a little bit about the torturing of Ollivander.
Okay.
That's the vision we get here. What are you thinking we're going with this? Why does he have Ollivander specifically?
Ollivander's the wand guy, right?
Yes.
I mean, I'm not sure exactly what...
Got nothing? No reason he'd be targeting the wand guy?
Well, there's something wrong with his wand or something, isn't there?
Okay.
I didn't... So if you can use another person's wand, as we see Moldavort using another person's wand, why is there any problem with just getting a new wand? Why does he need the wand guy?
If we go all the way back to the first book,
the wand chooses you.
The wand chooses the wizard.
But there's nothing stopping you from using someone else's wand, is there?
You're not as successful with someone else's wand, if that makes sense. It's not going to be as powerful. It's not going to behave as well. It's like picking up a dog at the pound. Yeah, it's probably going to follow you. It's going to be a good dog. It knows some tricks, but it's not your dog. You've got to develop that from birth to get that good connection. You've got to train it. Does that make sense? Am I going somewhere decent with this?
Don't ask me. I don't know the series, but it sounds dumb.
The wand chooses the wizard. The wand works with that wizard.
Yeah.
It is the most successful wand for that wizard. So to lose your wand, you would have to find a replacement, another wand that would accept you, or you're going to be using somebody else's, and there might go a little bit haywire with that. It's not going to respond as well.
Oh, here's something I need to... So to make one of these Horcruxes, is it by killing a Muggle or anyone?
Anyone. It's just by committing the act of murder. It doesn't necessarily have to be a Muggle.
So to go biblical, is it to kill or to murder? Because the original commandment was thou shalt do no murder. but then it got translated to thou shalt not kill, which there is a very big difference.
I would say murder.
Okay.
I think it is specifically justified that it must be murder. It must be the most heinous of crime.
So okay. So, but how do we differentiate? Because under that guise, I guarantee you Mad Eye has murdered someone.
True. I believe it would be considered a process. You would be murdering this person as part of the ritual of creating the Horcrux.
No, because the way that Moldavort was able to split his soul was because he murdered the people on the murder spree, wasn't it? He went on a murdering spree that Sirius got blamed for.
But perhaps that was part of that ritual, is that murder spree.
But we are shown the scene of several of those murders, right? Like they happened in public, not as a ritual.
When we say ritual, I mean, you think, the great circle, we're conjuring this magic. No, the murder has to be justified to create the magic.
Well, then it's not murder.
So it's just killing?
Yeah.
So, okay, killing's what justifies? Okay, whatever you want to say.
No,
I'm going to stick with murder. It has to be a purposeful murder for the purpose of making the Horcrux.
Okay.
So that's what we've got with that there. And we obviously have some issues going on with the wands. His wand is now missing. It is not in his possession. And now he's torturing the wand maker. So we're definitely going to come back to that. Wands keep popping up at the beginning of this novel. Harry's wand's acting funny. Mr. Ollivander's being tortured. Voldemort doesn't have a wand.
Probably just needs some penicillin.
Well, sometimes you just got to hit it with the penicillin, especially when it's shooting sparks. Yeah. It's fine. It's fine. Anything you want to touch on here?
Butterbeer and fire whiskey.
Go on.
What's the? I used to do them all the time. I can't think of the name for them now. You got a big old beer. You drop a shot of whiskey in it. You pound it. What's it called?
Car bomb?
No, it's not a car bomb. It's a Boilermaker. So, I think that butterbeer would be Boulevard wheat with shots of butter shots dropped in.
Okay. I'm feeling like we should do this.
I think we should.
Because I like both of those things.
I think fire whiskey would be Fireball and 151.
Ooh.
That sounds a lot like something called fire whiskey, doesn't it?
I like both of those things, too. I mean, I don't know about shooting straight 151, but...
I have drank straight 151. It makes for a terrible week.
Yeah, I'd imagine. Okay, so I think... I think maybe to kick off one of these Harry Potter episodes in the near future, we need to have ourselves a butterbeer shot. It's probably going to be disgusting, but I think it needs to happen.
Nothing is disgusting with Boulevard wheat.
You think so?
So, I mean, have you ever done a Boilermaker?
Yes.
Imagine a Boilermaker with Boulevard wheat and butter shots.
The butter shots is what's throwing me off, though, because
But it could be delicious. Like in your imaginative palate, mightn't that just be delicious?
We have to know. Like, I won't say no. I'll drink anything if it's offered. So, I think we have to find out.
We'll figure it out.
And I would like to point out, though, the good word choice, the idea of butterbeer and fire whiskey, those both sound fucking delicious. So, JK at least did something right in this series, because, I drink both of those.
If Boulevard wheat mixed with shots of butter shots is delicious, I will forgive all sins of the Harry Potter series.
I feel like we should just cut right now and immediately go get beer and butter shots.
Not going to happen.
We would probably spend less than $6.
I don't think it's going to happen.
No.
Boulevard wheat's better off tap anyway. Like, it's a little rough out of the bottle.
No, that's happening. Maybe not today, but that's happening. Put it in your back pocket. Harry Potter Drink-a-thon. It's coming.
Yeah, okay.
That's coming. All right, so now that you feel better about that, do you have anything you want to talk about with the text?
I had to put that on the table.
It's fair.
We've got a quote from 102, which reads as such. We've got Hermione telling the story of how she pulled off the great heist from Diddledor's book depository. Well, it was easy, said Hermione in a small voice. In a still small voice, perhaps. I just did a summoning charm. You know, Accio. Accio? Accio? Accio?
Accio.
Accio, and they zoomed out of Dumbledore's study window right into the girls' dormitory. But when did you do this? Harry asked, regarding Hermione with a mixture of admiration and incredulity. Just after Diddledor's funeral, said Hermione, in an even smaller voice. Right after we agreed we'd leave the school and go look for the Horcruxes. When I went back upstairs to get my things, it occurred to me that the more we knew about them, the better it would be, and I alone was in there. So I tried, and it worked. It flew straight into the open window and I packed them. Do you notice anything strange there?
Tell me about it.
Just, did you notice anything strange there?
No.
You didn't notice anything?
No.
Give me a sec, I'm sorry. I lost it.
It's okay. I'll wait for you.
I did a summoning charm, ... you know, Accio, ... and they zoomed out of Dumbledore's study window right into the girls' dormitory. Jumped to the end of the quote. They flew straight into the open window, and I packed them. Notice anything?
I think you're reading a bit too much into it.
What did you notice?
I think you're reading a bit too much into it.
What did you notice?
Are you saying it sounds a little bit sexual, perhaps?
I'm saying no.
No?
Well, not directly.
What are you getting at, then?
I'm saying that it suggests that Diddledore's window looks directly into the girls' dormitory.
No, not necessarily. That is... No.
Where was she?
She was in the girls' dormitory.
What path did the books take?
It went out the window. But with that charm...
It went straight into, she says. Straight into. Diddledore's office looks straight into the girls' dormitory.
I don't think so. And when we're looking at that charm... Do
you not think so because in the movies that's not where his office is? Or do you not think so because it's not in the text?
I don't know where his office is in the movies, to be honest. It's in like a high tower or something. But with that specific charm, it is not just a straight shot. That charm, it can come around walls, it can go anywhere, and then it can shoot straight into the dormitory.
Would you use the term straight into?
Probably not. But you know, I didn't write this now, did I?
Would you use the term it flew straight into? I used the summoning charm. She would not be able to see that they zoomed out of the study's window.
Okay.
She wouldn't be able to see that.
That's fair. There's at least a line of sight.
Hermione might be an omniscient narrator because of the powers with which old J.K. has endowed her. She would not be able to see that they flew out of the window and straight into the girls' dormitory.
It's amazing. Like, you know, people are always asking, you know, how do you guys, you know, sit here and do this? How do you deal with Adrian? How does Adrian keep doing or getting through all this? This is what I'm dealt with. We have 2 chapters here, approximately 700 pages worth of text. Mm-hmm. And all I get is, you know what? That old man's a fucking pervert. That is all I got from this.
No, that's not... Okay, so I've got other notes, jackass. Mm-hmm. But tell me that's not in the text. Just because your slow ass didn't catch it, okay? Just because your skimming reading ass didn't catch it doesn't mean it's not in the text. It is directly in the text. And I don't think it would be written that way were it not the case.
So in addition to our large imaginary whiteboard in the back of death count for this book, we need a poor writing choice mark again.
Or we need
We always talk, you know, somebody should write that story. Somebody should write the story of, you know, the greatest day ever with old Slughorn. I guarantee somebody's written that story, unfortunately. That is...
Someone wrote the story of the day that Diddledore took office and moved his office across campus to look directly into the girls'
You know what that wall needs? A window. Okay. Let's talk about something else. Let's move on a little bit. Because there's got to be something that you drew from this, because they usually always have something every week that's a good point.
There is something on 103, but looking at it, I can't find it. There's a bit about reabsorbing Horcruxes. Is that in here? Just talking about... talk about something for a minute. It doesn't matter what.
Absolutely. So we do have a lot going on in Chapter 5, and I am okay with Chapter 5. It seems okay. But once we move into Chapter 6, that is the most awful chapter ever, because there's nothing that's happening. This is a good example of lots of dialogue. The dialogue's there, but there's nothing happening. And dialogue with nothing happening is terrible. Dialogue with just action for action's sake is terrible, but there's no action to even complement this.
Right, it's like Hemingway said, there's a difference between action and movement.
Absolutely
There's a difference between dialogue and talking.
Chapter 6, it's literally sitting around, it's like, well, we need to fill a little bit, so let's get some filler here, and let's give away the main plot, let's talk about exactly what we're going to do, and let's fill in over here. Yeah. It's very poor, and again, I like this book. I love this series. This is my Adrian reading coming out, so when I get to Chapter 6, I'm like, can't do it. Also a little confusing. the whole idea with Bellatrix and Tonks's parents. Did you that kind of throw you off a little bit?
Looks like her, right? Something like that. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Why is that necessary in this whatsoever? Besides,
I was hoping it had a payoff, but apparently not.
No, it doesn't. It's fine. It's just there.
Yeah.
It's just there to piss off the reader.
Yeah. Well, I think what it is when you're a bad writer, you plant as many of those things as possible, so that if you need them, you come back to them.
Okay.
And what some writers will do that aren't bad writers, but then you go back and edit them out.
Okay. So the bit of the red herring idea, but let's just have the whole red herring factory in here.
Right.
Just lay them around in case I need them.
But that's not even a red herring. Like, it's just, oh my God, you look like her. It threw me off. Like, that's it. That's all it's in there for.
Well, when you've created this many characters when you're near 7, you're like, well, it's not developer. She looks like Bellatrix. That's fine. That's good enough. Keep going.
Yeah.
Keep going. Have another drink, JK. It's fine. Have another butterbeer.
Yeah.
So we have that. It's very uncomfortable. Did you find your point on 103?
Harry remembered what Dumbledore said about Moldavort, moving beyond usual evil. Isn't there any way of putting yourself back together, Ron asked. Yes, said Hermione, with a hollow smile. But it would be excruciatingly painful. Why? How would you do it? Asked Harold. Remorse, said Hermione. I'm willing to bet. Because you tried to zoom past... Not because you tried to zoom past that so fast when I said it. But I'm willing to bet... I said something about the scar being a Horcrux.
Okay.
I'm betting that's why he's after Harry.
Okay.
That Harold is a Moldavort Horcrux, and he's trying to either reabsorb him or something. I don't know. But I'm betting that's why he's after... Because it still doesn't make any sense that Moldavort is after Harry.
Okay.
Right?
Now, if that is the case, would we consider that a good plot twist? Because, it's a little clunky, but like, oh, Harry's the Horcrux, that's fine. But that would also denote that in order to defeat the greater evil, Harry's got to die.
Yeah.
Which ain't bad.
Would he have to die, though? It's the scar. The scar is hurting him. So, is it a scar?
Are they going to have plastic surgery to get rid of it? Or, how would you have to destroy a Horcrux?
Well, you have to destroy a Horcrux. You don't... Is the Horcrux the item in which the bit of the soul is housed, or is it the bit of the soul itself?
I think both. It is both the item, because it has to be that tangible item, and obviously Voldemort collected the fine antiques, but a bit of your soul also has to be housed within that item.
Yeah, housed within. Mm-hmm. But
so
housing within is not the item being the item itself.
It is both.
Like with the journal in the first book.
Yes.
The bit of Tom Riddle itself was separate from the journal.
But it was still within the journal.
It influenced the journal. Mm-hmm. It made the journal react to things.
I think it is
going... But the ghost of Riddle was walking around talking and...
Okay. I think it is going to be both still, because a bit of the soul must be imbued in the object, which would give the object the power, but the object still has to be significant.
Okay.
Is that what you said? You've got to smirk like you want to say something.
Well, first off, imbued is not a word.
Imbued?
Imbued.
Excuse me.
But essentially that's what I said, I thought.
Okay. We'll get into that a little bit. We'll see where that goes with that. But yeah, that I think that would be a good plot twist. If we were looking at that, saying, hey, not only is young Harry Potter here a Horcrux, but the only way...
Watch your mouth.
Yeah, the only way, we can get rid of Voldemort is, we got to put him down. I'd love to see that. I would. We'll see if anything comes from it.
Yeah.
Hopefully it can, appease you in the end at least.
If Harry Potter dies, I'll be happier than not.
Okay. Don't worry, the novels will continue. I'm sure there will be, let's just follow a new character. Harry wasn't that important. He was just, the protagonist for 7 books.
They haven't continued yet.
Okay.
There was the one that came out, but it was a play, wasn't it?
It was a play. It was a continuation, though.
It wasn't even written by Just Kidding herself.
It wasn't. Trust me, you make that mistake on the YouTube, people will let you know. Even if you just reference it as if, people will let you know. Anyway, we'll see what comes of that. I'm excited to get your take on that. I think there are some good things still coming in this novel here. There are still, again, some great deaths. As much as Mad Eye Moody was wasted, there are some beautiful deaths in this, which is always good. Good to add into your writing. I think you should always kill off somebody here and there.
Yeah.
Adds a little spice to it.
All of your characters should die if you're J.K. Rowling.
Fair. Let's talk about Mrs. Weasley. You weren't very comfortable with Mrs. Weasley's all-knowing and intrusive nature throughout this.
Yeah.
We haven't really seen much of Mrs. Weasley. She's always just been that side character, the good mother, take care of the kids, do the best. We are going to see a little bit more of her in this text, and I enjoy it.
Yeah.
I enjoy it a lot. But I will give you this. This chapter was terrible. Absolutely terrible. Just showing up to pester the kids, talking about the wedding. It was just absolutely unnecessary and absolutely grueling.
Yeah.
What is your take on this? Because I'm reading this for a second time, and it pissed me off at this point. Is it as bad as I'm justifying it?
Yeah, I mean, this was not a good chapter. It was a chapter just to... first off, I'm against the idea of marriage. So that set me off a little bit. But,
okay.
It is a filler chapter, as we often get from J.K. Rowling. I mean, she's, at this point, Stephen King doesn't do this.
Yeah.
People are always moving and doing something in Stephen King novels. And he writes 1,500 word page The Stand.
There was a little point in here as well that bothered me as well, and maybe that just as my reading has been going recently,
Bothered you?
it's bothered me. We talk about suspension of disbelief every now and then, and how you have to have realistic situations; they have to be understandable. How is Hermione going to justify sneaking out this year?
What do you mean?
How did Hermione say she was going to justify to her Muggle parents her absence this year if they're not going to return to Hogwarts?
She just brainwashed them, sent them away.
No. She told them she's going to Australia.
No, she sent them to Australia.
Does that work?
No, but she wiped their memories, sent them to Australia, and erased herself from their lives.
Okay, that's fine. I'm not sure I agree with you. Maybe I read that wrong.
I'm pretty sure she sent them to Australia.
Are you sure about that?
I'm not 100% sure.
Why? I'm pretty disagreeing at this point.
She made them start their lives over again because if they stay where they are, people are going to constantly be asking them, where's their daughter? Mm-hmm. So I think that she wiped their memories. She sent them to Australia.
Carry on about something. Complain about something and talk about Harry Potter because I feel like...
Well, I've got one more point here.
We have to figure this out.
But I want to talk about this with you. So I will talk about just the vapid nature of Harry Potter in general. And if there are this many hollow chapters in your book, maybe you shouldn't have written any of them. And maybe they should just be pulled off the shelves. Because what it does is it teaches children that literature is not literature. It's just words on a page, and they don't matter. They're all disposable. Are you finding it yet?
I'm working on it.
Okay.
Keep writing. Keep yelling.
Maybe we can do an appendage to this video, because I've got a very big point I want to raise.
Well, we can do that appendage when we're drinking the butterbeers. It will be wonderful.
Okay.
But hopefully it'll look like I've gone away with Mom and Dad, and a lot of Muggleborns talking about going into hiding at the moment. Says Hermione, shut up. Okay,
so she sent them.
Yeah, my bad. Disregard my entire previous point that I thought I had here. I thought I was on top of things.
Son of a bitch.
God damn, every time with this.
Every time you try to say, well, I'm Dalton and I make a point,
I'd like to make
misread something.
There's always, it's either I'm going to make a point and I've either misread it, or I make the point and you're like, no. No, justify it. I'm like, I just fucking justified it. You're like, no, you didn't. Moving on.
You don't justify things. You say what you think again. That's what you do.
Okay.
That's what you do.
Okay.
You don't justify things. You just say it again.
Mm-hmm.
So these characters, no one ever besides Hermione really questions the fact of owning house elves, do they?
Okay.
They're lesser than us. We just own them. They're doing what they do. We're doing what we do. What about this idea of a ghoul?
Just kind of sloughed over, isn't it?
Yeah, it's just kind of sloughed over. What is it? They own the ghoul, don't they? Mm-hmm. Did they buy him? What is he just theirs? Because it makes it sound like it's just always been Ron's ghoul, but we never saw him.
True, and again, when we're talking about this just being the Schluff chapter, it's never mentioned again. It's over at that point. But when you think about it, I don't think you just have a ghoul in the house. And if you have a ghoul in the house, it wouldn't be referred to as Ron's ghoul,
right,
or as the ghoul in the house.
Yeah.
So at one point in time, they would have acquired this ghoul. And whether it's a pet or not, that it really needs to be justified because it seems the ghoul serves a purpose. Otherwise, they wouldn't keep it around.
Right.
So yeah, it is a little uncomfortable once we're talking about it. And Hermione doesn't seem to mind it, though.
And we go straight from that to some type of disappointment in the yard, and Ron starts abusing gnomes. Starts kicking them, doesn't he?
Yep.
In all these characters, we've established that Hermione has some doubt at some point, at some level, if maybe there's some ethnic diversity with Hermione, but I don't think so. And I can't remember what the point was. I think it was because her hair's brown, maybe? Not dark hair, but not...
Reddish brown, yeah.
Yeah, reddish brown. Something came up, and Hermione basically... doubt is removed, and she's a white character. These are all white people who own house elves, who own ghouls, who are just so much better than gnomes that they're able to abuse them. No one questions Ron when he kicks the gnomes. Mm-hmm. If anyone is writing a representation of white privilege, it is J.K. Rowling.
Okay.
These things are presented with no ill will. These things are presented as just part of the novel here. This is worse than a Bret Easton Ellis novel. Because in Bret Easton Ellis, it's presented in a way that you have to question the characters at play. In a Bret Easton Ellis novel, that idea of white privilege is presented in such a fashion that you have to revile at those things.
Okay. Now, the gnomes, I believe it is previously in another novel, are considered basically like the pests, like moles, basically, that appear in the garden.
Right.
No big deal there if they're a pest, but if you look at fantasy and you look at the genre of fantasy, gnomes are usually free-thinking creatures, and these gnomes seem to be free-thinking creatures
And humanoid.
and humanoid. So I think you're very right in that
The
justification
ghoul
there.
is humanoid.
Absolutely so.
The house elves, they're humanoid.
Absolutely so, but for some reason the house elves rank above everyone else. We can at least have some sympathy for the house elves, but not the ghoul or the gnomes.
Yeah, so if anyone is writing just a direct justification... Okay, so here's another thing. When you're reading a Bret Easton Ellis novel, no one's the protagonist.
Okay.
No one's the good guy. You've just got a narrator. We've got 3 good guys here, don't we? In fact, we're in a fortress of good guys.
With one very cookie-cutter bad guy.
With one very cookie-cutter bad guy. We're in a fortress of good guys. And Ron's allowed to kick gnomes because it doesn't matter.
Okay.
They're just owning ghouls and dressing them up as they please. Keeping them locked someplace, wasn't it? Mm-hmm. JK, I hate to break it to you, but if anyone is perpetuating these things, maybe you should create a Twitter account to troll your own Twitter account.
Well, let's see where it goes next week. Because we're going to be We are going to be next week.
We're going to be knick-knack, pedawhack.
With a couple more chapters, Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows. We're going to be doing Chapter 7 and Chapter 8, The Will of Albus Dumbledore and the Wedding. So hopefully we're going to get a little bit of interesting stuff, at least with the Dumbledore chapter.
Okay.
We'll see if anything happens to the
Sign us
wedding.
off,
I don't remember it. Anyway, if you like this kind of thing, make sure you hit the subscribe button down below and give this video a like as well. We are almost through the Harry Potter series, and just out of sympathy, you should at least like it for Adrian's sake at this point. And if you'd like to help us create great content like this here on Strip Cover Lit, there is a link, as always, to our Patreon to be found in the description below. This table needs to go back.
You think?
Were you uncomfortable with it?
What do you mean?
I don't know. This whole video, I'm sitting here, I'm like, this table's too far forward. It's too fucking far forward. We're cutting off heads. God forbid we hit the fucking trifecta and it's centered and it's focused and there's no audio problems in a video.
Yeah, good fucking luck.
It's amazing how, like, we used to have this pretty down pat.
When there was no chance that our audio would be good.
That's true.
You know?
That's true. You got a lot more to worry about. We're cutting off heads.